what brought me to the Spirit of Humanity Forum, brought me here 2 years ago, at my first Spirit of Humanity Forum. And it's a forum that I'd heard of for some time. And it was one of those situations where I kept feeling, oh, I'd love to go, I'd love to go, I'd love to be there. And I trusted that when the time was right, it wasn't that I was trying to impose myself, but I would be invited when I was ready to serve its intentions, which is really to bring love into the world. Yeah?
L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see.
So I answered an invitation to be here in 2023, and it was transformational. And it really reinforced in my heart and soul the power of listening, the power of silence, the power of being. And I'm someone who really enjoys the dance of being and doing, but I think over the last few years have settled back into what I was like in my corporate life, which is perhaps more doing than being. So it was such a beautiful opportunity to reset that. So when the invitation came again for this year, and in the meantime, being invited to be part of the Wisdom Circle, which was is such a privilege, there is a real sense now of a dance, of taking us forward into the being and doing. And this wonderful beginning of what I think is going to be an amazing relationship with the Wellbeing Economy Alliance, I think really does again give us this opportunity to, in the inner being and outer doing, that dance, to come together, to collaborate, and I like to say now collaborate.
So tell me, you were at Harpa yesterday. It was like we could say the beginning of this collaboration between the Spirit of Humanity Forum and the Wellbeing Economy Forum. And this session was hosted by our president, Halla Tómasdóttir. Tell me a little bit about your experience there yesterday.
You know, sometimes when you walk into a room, and I feel the energies of a room, and when I walked in, there was a sense of anticipation, a sense of, oh, what's this going to be like? Not sure. A full room. And when I walked out of that room, I could just feel love. I could feel something had shifted in that time we were together. I feel something was birthed in that time we were together. And in that birthing, I feel that a healthy baby is being born. But now it's for us to nurture it, to realise, and Halla said this so beautifully, everyone's invited. Whether people, you know, are already awake to this understanding of unity and diversity or not, you know, to celebrate our differences, but to realise we are all in this together, and to invite everyone into this adventure and the potential of a new world. And so it was just such a beautiful curiosity, humility, coming together. But above all, it felt to me that this was you know, we talk about labour of love and we talk about labour as childbirth, but it really felt that it wasn't a labour, it was an effortless, beautiful birthing into a future that is founded on love.
What do you feel it's the most important steps for us now, going forward?
Okay, well, first of all, I was talking about we've inherited a 19th century mechanistic worldview of materialism separation. That drove the Industrial Revolution. It's driven all the continuing behaviours, exploitations, domination culture, and competition and conflicts that have brought us to this point of unsustainability. And yet we now know that the science, the leading edge science across all scales and many fields of research, as I mentioned yesterday, are overturning that old paradigm. Instead, what they're doing, or it's doing, is revealing a universe that meaningfully exists, purposely evolves, as a unified entity, where its unity is expressed in diversity. Now that's the foundation, that's the unitive perspective, that's the foundation of a unitive narrative, and we've been talking about new stories and new narratives. And this unitive narrative is converging this leading edge science with universal wisdom teachings, with indigenous teachings. It's a natural, it's a context, it's an underpinning, it's a framing that the old paradigm doesn't give us, you know, for meaning and purpose and the sense of belonging and the sense of community and love. So it seems to me that what it does is it gives us solid ground to stand on. And I use that purposefully because it's a universe where mind and consciousness are what we have, but literally what we in the whole world are. Nonetheless, that amazing primacy of consciousness being primary to the material world, nonetheless gives us that deeper ground. Not this just physical ground, but the deeper ground to stand on. That deeper ground that underpins us and frames us and supports us, because it's a living universe that supports us. And I would say even more than that, it's a loving universe that supports us. So with that as our narrative, it seems to me we can be empowered to link up and lift up as we are doing. And you know, there's so many folks there and so many that we're working with now around the world who are hearing this call, who are sharing this vision, who even if they don't fully understand it or are not ready to fully step into it, know deep within themselves they're hearing it, this invitation, deeply within their hearts and deeply within their souls.
So because we're talking about here changes from inside out,
Yeah.
and you're speaking also about change of consciousness, that we need to have this new narrative to be able to become the butterfly.
Exactly, because we are a species that tells stories, and we've had narratives from the very beginning of what I think it's meant to be human. You know, as a cosmologist, our cosmologies of the past, before the scientific revolution, were cosmologies of meaning and purpose. Indigenous cosmologies that spoke to us being part of the web of life, not being apart from nature, but a part of. Nature is us. You know, ancient wisdom, whether it's from India or China or Egypt, around the world, telling us that we are inseparable. We are inseparable from each other and the whole world. And we've moved those to the side to our great detriment, it seems to me. And now they're not being invited in. Why should they be invited in? I think they're always been there. I think science is now being invited in. Science is now joining this wisdom council because it's a science now that is converging with that wisdom. It goes beyond the paradigm that we've had of separation into a worldview of wholeness. And yet that unity is not about uniformity. It's unity expressing radical diversity and an invitation to remember that we are indeed inseparable and we do belong.
What you're explaining, I mean, to many people, it's a radical difference from what people believe the world is today. But you're also telling us that science is showing us this. This is not just from some spiritual background, this is really science today.
This is absolutely science, and I feel that's the game changer. Because we've had wisdom teachings, whether they be indigenous, universal wisdom teachings, spirituality-based teachings, for a very, very long time. And they are incredibly powerful and nurturing. And yet our collective worldview has pushed those to the edges and instead has been based on 19th century science. It's it's over a century out of date. But the quantum and relativity insights in physics in the early 20th century, those insights were already giving us clues that mechanistic worldview was at best flawed and at worst dangerous, because it separated us from the deeper nature of reality. But those clues themselves were being pushed to the side, and the focus was on technology and innovation, and that's brought us to now. But you know, science, when it's really honoured is a way of revealing if you follow the evidence wherever it may lead. And the evidence now is leading to this radical view of reality. And radical in English is about root and branch. It's a root and branch transformation, and yet it's absolutely evidence-based. And I think that is what's so powerful and has the potential for transformation. But we have to go beyond here. The cognitive understanding, it seems to me, this is an invitation to experience wholeness. And that, to me, comes from for me, the portal is love. Because when we feel love, we already begin to open ourselves to possibilities, to dreams, to how we can vision, to a remembering that we do indeed belong. Love invites us always into that world of which we're natural, that is who we are. And this is remembering that.
So if we sort of try to draw it together, if you would have a message to everyone, I mean, because we are all leaders in our lives, but also the world leaders, and what would your message be today?
So greater complications. The universe, as Einstein once said, and I wholeheartedly agree, the universe is as simple as it can be, but no simpler. And the simplest expression and the deepest power in the universe that we are now discovering, because our universe's wholeness is expressed in relationships and interdependence, is the power of love. So I would say, choose love.